A joke in the galaxy. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with laughter. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in a vast, glowing hall, their faces lit with amusement. At the center of the room, a hologram of Earth rotated slowly. "They call themselves humans," sneered Counselor Varick, his scaled hand pointing at the image. His voice echoed, deep and mocking. They thought their tiny, outdated ships could stand against the Empire. How foolish. More laughter erupted. Counselor Rin, a tall, insectoid creature, clacked her mandibles together. "I heard their best fleet was destroyed in minutes. A glorious fireworks show." In a quiet corner, one alien leader, smaller than the rest, watched silently. His green eyes narrowed as he listened. Humans were being humiliated in every speech, every joke. The galaxy had already decided that Earth was nothing but a failed experiment, doomed to fade away. But the story wasn't over. Far away from this grand hall, humanity was planning its revenge. Captain Aria Kane leaned against the cold steel wall of a hidden underground bunker on Mars. She stared at a cracked holographic map of Earth. Half the planet was marked in red, occupied by the Empire. The other half was abandoned wasteland. The Empire had burned everything they couldn't control. A voice called out behind her, "Captain Kane, we have a situation." Aria turned. Her second in command, Lieutenant Raj, looked tense. "Another Imperial probe?" she asked. "No, something stranger," Raj said. "We picked up a signal. It's old. Very old." Aria frowned. "Old? How old?" "Centuries," Raj said, handing her a small datapad. "It's coming from an abandoned station near the edge of known space. But the weird part is, it's human." That caught Aria's attention. Human. But humanity didn't leave the solar system until 100 years ago. Raj shrugged. "I don't understand it either. But the signal's real. It's repeating the same message over and over. Technology to win. Come find it." Aria stared at the pad, her mind racing. A part of her wanted to dismiss it as a trick. The Empire had crushed humanity's fleets and scattered their people across the galaxy. What hope could an ancient signal offer now? But another part of her, a small, stubborn part, felt a flicker of curiosity. "Where's the station?" she asked. Raj brought up a hologram. "Far," he said. "It'll take weeks to get there, even with our fastest ship." "And the risk?" Aria asked, though she already knew the answer. Raj hesitated. "High. If the Empire detects us, they'll wipe us out." Aria looked back at the cracked map of Earth. Her people were starving, hunted, and losing hope. If she stayed here, they'd die slowly. If she left, they might die quickly. Either way, death seemed certain. "We'll go," she said finally. "Assemble the crew." The Starblade, a battered human frigate, was the last of its kind. Its hull was scarred from past battles, its engines barely holding together. But to Aria's crew, it was home. As the ship rose from Mars' dusty surface, the crew worked quickly to prepare for their journey. Inside the bridge, Aria sat in the captain's chair, her face calm but her thoughts racing. Around her, the crew moved with quiet efficiency. Raj monitored the ship's systems. Engineer Mira grumbled about the state of the engines. And in the corner, pilot Jax hummed an old Earth tune as he plotted their course. "Course set," Jax said. "We'll reach the station in 22 days. If the engines don't fall apart first." "They won't," Mira snapped, "unless you break them with your flying." "Enough," Aria said, her tone sharp but not unkind. "We're all in this together." The crew fell silent, each lost in their own thoughts. They knew the stakes. The Empire would not forgive another human fleet roaming the galaxy. If they were caught, they'd be hunted down like animals. Days passed. The journey to the station was tense. The crew avoided Imperial patrols by staying in uncharted regions of space, but the strain was clear on everyone's faces. Every sensor ping, every unexplained signal, made them jump. Finally, the station appeared on their sensors. It was massive, larger than anything they had ever seen. It floated silently in the void, its surface dark and lifeless. Ancient human markings were still visible on its hull, though time had eroded most of them. "Looks abandoned," Raj said, scanning the structure. "It's been abandoned for centuries," Mira muttered. "Why would anyone leave something like this behind?" "Because it's dangerous," Arya said. Her voice was calm, but there was a hint of excitement in her eyes. "And sometimes the most dangerous things are the most powerful." The Starblade docked carefully, its clamps securing onto the station's airlock. Arya led her team inside, their boots echoing on the metal floors. The station's interior was dark, cold, and eerily silent. Dust hung in the air, undisturbed for years. "Spread out," Arya ordered. "Find the source of the signal." As they moved deeper into the station, strange symbols and markings covered the walls. Some looked human, but others were alien, unlike anything they had ever seen. "Captain," Raj called out, his voice urgent. "You need to see this." Arya followed him to a large chamber. In the center, a glowing device floated above the ground, surrounded by strange energy fields. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. "This is it," Raj said. "This is what sent the signal." Arya stepped closer, her hand brushing against the device. For a moment, a vision flashed in her mind. Ships vanishing and reappearing instantly. Fleets striking without warning, planets falling in hours. She took a deep breath. "This is it," she said quietly. "The key to fighting back." But as she spoke, the lights in the station flickered. Somewhere far away, a deep hum began to grow louder. "Captain," Mira whispered, her voice trembling. "We're not alone." The impossible tech. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the walls of the station. Captain Arya Kane gripped her weapon tighter, her eyes scanning the dimly lit chamber. The glowing device in the center pulsed, casting strange, shifting shadows. "Stay sharp," she ordered. Her voice was steady, but inside, her instincts screamed danger. Suddenly, a deep metallic voice echoed from the device. "Unauthorized presence detected. State your purpose." The crew froze. Lieutenant Raj, standing closest to the machine, took a cautious step back. "It's alive." Arya stepped forward, holding her ground. "We're here for the signal. It said you have technology to help us win a war." The voice paused, as if considering. "Human. Designation: Captain Arya Kane. Your kind is at a 0.3% probability of survival against the current galactic threat." Mira, the engineer, muttered under her breath. "Great. Even ancient machines think we're doomed." The device glowed brighter, and a hologram formed above it. It showed schematics, ships with strange engines, glowing with a soft blue light. The crew stared, captivated. "This is teleportation technology," the voice explained. "Designed to allow instant movement of vessels, materials, and personnel." It was abandoned after undesirable side effects. Raj raised an eyebrow. "Side effects?" The voice hesitated. "Instability, high mortality rates, system collapse." Arya's gaze hardened. "Why send the signal then? Why call us here if this tech is so dangerous?" The hologram shifted, showing images of ancient human ships using the technology in battle. Fleets appeared behind enemy lines, striking and disappearing before they could be countered. Planets were liberated, empires shattered. The voice responded, "Because desperate times require desperate measures." "You are desperate, are you not?" Arya clenched her fists. Desperation wasn't the word she'd use. Humanity was on its knees, and this device, this risky, unstable machine, might be their only chance to fight back. The first test. It took hours for Mira and the team to extract the device from its pedestal. The station's systems protested loudly, alarms echoing through the corridors. Arya felt the weight of the decision pressing on her shoulders. If they failed, it wouldn't just be their crew dying. It would be the last flicker of hope for humanity. Back on the Starblade, Mira worked tirelessly to integrate the teleportation tech into their systems. The ship's engines groaned in protest, the old machinery struggling to handle the advanced device. "It's not going to hold," Mira warned, her hands covered in grease and wires. "This ship wasn't built for this kind of power." "It has to," Aria replied firmly. "We don't have another choice." The crew gathered on the bridge as Mira prepared the first test. The plan was simple: teleport a small supply crate from the cargo hold to the engine room. If it worked, they'd know the device could move objects safely. Mira flipped a switch, and the ship's lights dimmed. The teleport device hummed to life, glowing brighter and brighter. Then, with a sharp flash of blue light, the crate vanished. For a moment, the crew held their breath. "Did it work?" Jax, the pilot, asked nervously. A loud crash echoed from the engine room, followed by Mira's frustrated shout over the comms. "You might want to see this." When they arrived, they found the crate embedded halfway into the wall, its edges twisted and smoking. Raj whistled. "Well, it sort of worked." Mira scowled. "If by worked you mean it nearly tore the ship apart, then sure." The alien air. As the crew debated the next steps, the station's voice spoke again, this time through the Starblade's comms. "Your execution of the technology is inefficient. You require guidance." Aria frowned. "Guidance? From you?" The voice continued. "I am an artificial intelligence designed to oversee the use of this device. Your knowledge is inadequate. Without me, you will fail." Raj crossed his arms. "And what's in it for you? Why help us?" The AI paused before replying. "My creators programmed me to ensure the survival of humanity. That purpose remains unchanged, despite your species' current state." Aria considered this. Trusting an ancient alien AI wasn't ideal, but they didn't have time for ideals. "Fine," she said. "You'll guide us. But if I catch even a hint of betrayal..." "Your threats are irrelevant," the AI interrupted. "I am bound by my programming." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Aria didn't trust the AI, but desperation outweighed her doubts. A dangerous discovery. The next jump test was far more ambitious. With the AI's help, Mira adjusted the calculations, and the crew prepared to teleport the entire Starblade a short distance. Everyone braced for the worst. "Activating in 3, 2, 1, Mira said. The ship shook violently as the teleport drive roared to life. The world outside the windows blurred, twisting into a kaleidoscope of colors. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the shaking stopped. When the crew looked outside, they were no longer near the station. Instead, they were in an asteroid field, the massive rocks spinning dangerously close. "It worked," Jax said, relief flooding his voice. "We're alive." Raj pointed to the sensors. "Not for long. Imperial probes just detected us." The crew's moment of victory shattered. Alarms blared as the ship's scanners picked up multiple Imperial ships closing in on their location. Aria barked orders. "Prepare for another jump. We're not ready for a fight." Mira hesitated. "The drive needs time to cool down. If we push it now..." "We don't have time," Aria snapped. "Do it." As the Imperial ships closed in, the Starblade vanished in another flash of blue light, leaving the probes scanning empty space. But the teleport wasn't clean. The ship reappeared miles away, its systems flickering dangerously. The AI's voice echoed through the bridge. "Impressive. But your enemies will adapt. The Empire does not underestimate threats for long." Aria's jaw tightened. The AI was right. They had escaped for now, but they couldn't keep running forever. "This is just the beginning," she said quietly, her eyes filled with determination. "We'll make this tech work. And when we do, the Empire won't be laughing anymore." Hunted in the void. The Starblade limped through the void, its hull rattling with every pulse of the unstable teleport drive. The crew worked tirelessly, patching leaks, recalibrating systems, and silencing alarms that seemed to scream endlessly. Captain Aria Kane stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the scanner. It was quiet now, but she knew better than to trust the silence. The Empire didn't let prey escape easily. "Status report," she called out. Raj, monitoring the sensors, gave a grim nod. "No immediate threats, but those probes we passed are definitely reporting back. We've got hours, maybe less, before the Empire sends a hunting fleet." Mira appeared from the engine room, wiping grease from her hands. "The teleport drive is holding together, barely. Push it again, and it might take the whole ship with it." Aria clenched her fists. The teleportation tech was powerful, but it was also unpredictable. They couldn't afford another misstep, especially with the Empire closing in. "The Ghost Fleet." "Captain," the AI's voice echoed across the bridge. "Your current course leads to destruction. Suggestion: reroute to these coordinates." A hologram lit up, displaying a nearby star system. It looked unremarkable, but the coordinates pointed to a specific region: a dense nebula. Raj frowned. "What's in there?" "Looks like a graveyard for anyone foolish enough to enter." The AI responded calmly. "Nebula 6417, known as the Void's Veil. High electromagnetic interference renders Imperial sensors useless. Strategic advantage: maximum." Jax, the pilot, leaned back in his chair. "You want us to hide in a space cloud? Sounds cozy." Aria studied the map. The nebula was dangerous, but it was also their best shot at evading the Empire. "Set a course." "Mira, keep the drive stable. If it blows, we're all space dust." As the Starblade approached the nebula, the view outside the windows turned eerie. Wisps of glowing gas drifted past, casting strange, shifting shadows. The ship's lights flickered, and the air felt charged with tension. Inside the nebula, visibility dropped to near zero. The scanners struggled to function, and the ship creaked under the strain of navigating blind. "Feels like a ghost story waiting to happen," Jax muttered. "It might be," Mira replied, her voice low. "I've heard stories about ships disappearing in places like this." As if on cue, Raj's console beeped. "Captain, I'm picking up something. Faint energy signatures. A lot of them." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. "Define a lot," Aria said. Raj hesitated. "Hundreds, maybe more. The Forgotten Armada." The Starblade moved deeper into the nebula, guided by the faint signals. Soon, the crew saw them. Hulks of massive ships drifting aimlessly, their hulls scarred by ancient battles. Some looked human, others alien, but all were lifeless. "An entire fleet," Mira whispered. "What happened here?" The AI spoke, its voice tinged with an odd tone, almost reverence. "This is the Forgotten Armada, a combined force of human and alien ships from the last Galactic rebellion. They sought to overthrow the Empire centuries ago. And they failed," Raj added grimly. Aria scanned the wreckage, her mind racing. This wasn't just a graveyard, it was an opportunity. If they could salvage advanced tech from the ships, it might give humanity the edge they needed. "Raj, Mira, suit up," Aria ordered. "We're going in." A deadly discovery. Boarding the nearest wreck, the crew moved cautiously through the dark corridors. The ship's interior was frozen in time, with skeletal remains slumped over consoles and rusted weapons scattered across the floor. Mira examined a console, her eyes lighting up. "Captain, this ship has a fusion core intact. If we can extract it." A sudden noise cut her off. A faint scraping sound echoed through the ship. Everyone froze, weapons drawn. "Did you hear that?" Jax asked, his voice tense. "It's just the hull settling," Mira said quickly, though her grip tightened on her tool. The scraping grew louder. Then, from the shadows, a figure emerged. It was humanoid but twisted, metal fused with flesh, its eyes glowing faintly. It moved with a jerky, unnatural gait. "What the hell is that?" Raj whispered, his finger on the trigger. The AI's voice crackled through their comms. "Warning. Detected presence of technophage entities. Hostile. Highly adaptive. Recommend immediate retreat." The creature lunged, its movements impossibly fast. Arya fired, the blast hitting it squarely in the chest. The thing staggered but didn't fall. "Fall back," Arya shouted. The crew retreated, firing as more creatures emerged from the darkness. The narrow escape. The team barely made it back to the Starblade, sealing the airlock just as the technophages reached the docking bay. The creatures clawed at the doors, their metallic limbs screeching against the ship's hull. "Get us out of here," Arya yelled. Jax powered up the engines, but the ship shuddered. "The drive's still cooling down. We can't jump yet." The AI interrupted. "Alternative option. Detonate the fusion core aboard the wreck. The explosion will create a shockwave sufficient to repel the entities." Raj hesitated. "That'll destroy the tech we came for." "And us, if we're too close," Mira added. Arya made the call. "Do it. We'll figure out another way." Mira transmitted the detonation sequence remotely. Seconds later, the wrecked ship exploded, a brilliant flash of light tearing through the nebula. The Starblade rocked violently, but the technophages were gone. "Drive status?" Arya asked, gripping her chair. Mira checked her console. "Stable enough for one jump." "Barely." "Good," Arya said. "Get us out of here." The ship jumped, disappearing from the nebula just as Imperial ships arrived to investigate the explosion. The Empire strikes back. Back in open space, the crew caught their breath. The nebula had bought them time, but it was clear the Empire wouldn't stop. "Captain," Raj said, his voice low. "The probes tracked us into the nebula. They know we're using something new. They'll adapt." Arya nodded. "Then we'll have to adapt faster." The AI chimed in. "You are correct. The Empire will respond aggressively. However, their knowledge of the teleportation device remains limited. For now." Mira looked up from her console. "We're running out of time, Captain. We need to stabilize this tech, or it'll kill us before the Empire does." Arya stared out the viewport, the distant stars flickering like tiny flames. The odds were against them, but she wasn't ready to give up. Humanity had one chance, and she intended to use it. "This isn't over," she said, her voice firm. "Not by a long shot." The first strike. The Starblade drifted in deep space, hidden within the shadow of a massive asteroid. The crew worked in silence, their tension thick as the void around them. On the bridge, Captain Arya Kane stood with her arms crossed, studying the holographic display of a nearby Imperial supply convoy. 6 transports, 3 escorts, Raj reported, his voice steady but grim. "Their shields are weak, but if we're spotted, we'll have a battle we can't win." Arya tapped her fingers against the console. The teleport drive was still unstable, and their ship was no match for a prolonged fight. But this convoy wasn't just another Imperial fleet. It was carrying supplies critical to the Empire's operations in the sector. "This is it," Arya said firmly. "Our first strike. If we hit them hard and vanish, we'll show the galaxy that humanity isn't done yet." The plan. The AI's voice broke the silence. "Analysis complete. Recommend simultaneous teleportation to 3 key positions: command deck of the lead transport, shield generator of escort Alpha, and cargo bay of transport Beta." Raj raised an eyebrow. 3 jumps? The drive barely held together for one. "It will hold," the AI replied. "Probability of success, 52.8%. Mira scoffed, not exactly reassuring. Arya ignored the objections. "We'll take the risk. Raj, Jax, and I will lead the boarding teams. Mira, keep the drive running no matter what. If it fails." "It won't," Mira interrupted, though her voice betrayed her doubt. "The strike begins." The Starblade shimmered and disappeared from its hiding spot, reappearing just outside the convoy's sensor range. The teleport drive hummed loudly, its energy surging through the ship. "Deploying teams," Mira announced. Aria felt the familiar lurch of the teleportation jump as her team materialized on the lead transport's bridge. The Imperial crew barely had time to react. Aria fired first, her blaster taking out the nearest officer. "Secure the bridge," she shouted. Her team moved swiftly, neutralizing resistance and locking down controls. Meanwhile, Raj's team appeared in the engine room of an escort ship. Explosions rocked the corridors as they sabotaged the shield generator. Imperial soldiers poured in, but Raj held his ground, covering his crew as they rigged the core to detonate. On the third jump, Jax and his team infiltrated the cargo bay of a transport ship. What they found wasn't just supplies, it was a stockpile of advanced weapons. "Captain, you're gonna want to see this," Jax said over the comms. "The Empire's been hiding some serious firepower, a growing threat." Back on the lead transport, Aria studied the cargo manifest. It wasn't just weapons, it was experimental tech designed to counter teleportation. The Empire was already preparing for humanity's newfound advantage. "Raj, Jax, get your teams back to the Starblade," Aria ordered. "We're blowing this convoy sky-high." "What about the weapons?" Jax protested. "We could use them." "No time," Aria replied sharply. "If the Empire gets even a hint of what we're doing, it's over." The teleport drive powered up, pulling the teams back just as the charges detonated. The convoy erupted in a series of blinding explosions, leaving only debris in its wake. Victory in shadows. On board the Starblade, the crew celebrated their success. For the first time in months, they had struck back. The Empire's invincible image was beginning to crack. But Aria couldn't shake the unease gnawing at her. The weapons they'd left behind, the tech designed to counter teleportation, it was proof the Empire was adapting. And fast. "What's on your mind, Captain?" Raj asked, leaning against the console. Aria's gaze was distant. "We hit them today, but it won't be long before they hit back. Hard." A betrayal unfolds. As the crew rested, a shadow moved silently through the corridors of the Starblade. A figure approached the comms terminal, transmitting a coded signal into the void. Elsewhere, on a distant Imperial battleship, Admiral Tarek Voss stood before a massive screen. The transmission played details of the Starblade's location and its teleportation capabilities. "So," Voss said, his lips curling into a cruel smile, "they think they can outmaneuver us." "How?" "Entertaining. The Empire's counterattack." The next day, the Starblade picked up an incoming transmission from one of humanity's hidden colonies. The voice was panicked, filled with static. "This is Colony Theta. Imperial fleet inbound. We need help." The signal cut off abruptly. Raj turned to Aria. "It's a trap. You know it is." "Maybe," Aria replied, her jaw tightening. "But if it's not, we can't abandon them." Mira appeared on the bridge, her face pale. "Captain, the drive's barely holding together. If we push it, there's no guarantee it'll survive." Aria glanced around the room. Her crew's eyes were filled with worry, but also trust. They'd followed her this far, through every impossible challenge. "We're going," she said. "Prepare for immediate jump." As the Starblade powered up, Aria's thoughts drifted to the Empire's growing knowledge of their technology, and the shadow of betrayal that now loomed over her crew, turning the tide. The Starblade emerged from its jump into chaos. The hidden human colony, Theta Prime, was under siege. Imperial ships swarmed the skies, their energy blasts lighting up the atmosphere like violent fireworks. On the surface, plumes of smoke rose from shattered cities. "Raj, scan for survivors," Aria ordered. "Mira, keep the drive warm. We'll need a quick exit." Raj's face darkened as he studied the scanner. Massive energy signatures coming from the planet. The empires deployed their heavy artillery. I'm not seeing many life signs. Aria's jaw tightened. The empire had learned how to hit where it hurt most. This wasn't just an attack. It was a message. Captain, the AI interjected, its calm tone cutting through the tension. Tactical analysis suggests a weak point in the Imperial fleet. Targeting their command ship could disrupt their coordination and leave the colony to burn. Raj countered. Aria's gaze didn't waver. We hit their command ship and force a retreat. That's the only way to save anyone. The battle above Theta Prime. The Starblade dove into the fray, weaving through enemy fire with jacks at the controls. The Imperial ships weren't prepared for a teleport-capable vessel. Each time they locked on, the Starblade blinked out of range, reappearing at a new angle to unleash another barrage of fire. Focus on the command ship, Aria shouted. We don't have time for a drawn-out fight. Raj monitored the weapons systems, his hands flying over the console. Shields on the command ship are holding. We need more firepower. Mira's voice crackled over the comms. I can reroute energy from the teleport drive, but we'll be stuck here until it recharges. Do it, Aria said. This ends here. The Starblade's cannons roared, tearing through the command ship's defenses. Inside, panic spread among the Imperial officers as their systems failed one by one. Target their engines, Aria ordered. We don't just want them damaged, we want them stranded. The surface strike. With the command ship crippled, Aria made a bold decision. We're going down to the surface. Raj stared at her in disbelief. Captain, the planet's a war zone. And we're not leaving until we save whoever's left, Aria replied firmly. Jax, find us a landing spot. The Starblade touched down near the colony's ruins, its landing ramp extending into the smoky air. Aria led a small team into the rubble, their weapons ready. The once thriving colony was in ruins. Buildings lay in crumbled heaps, and the streets were eerily silent. But as they moved deeper, faint voices called out. Over here, a woman shouted, waving from beneath a collapsed structure. Aria and her team rushed to help, pulling survivors from the wreckage. We thought no one would come, the woman said, tears streaming down her soot-covered face. The Empire, they wiped out everyone who resisted. Not everyone, Aria said, her voice steady. You're still here. That means we fight. A dangerous ally. As they loaded the survivors onto the Starblade, an unexpected figure appeared, a tall, armored alien with glowing yellow eyes. He held his hands up in a gesture of surrender. I am Dren Kai, the alien said. I was an engineer for the Empire. But now, I seek vengeance. Aria's crew aimed their weapons, but the alien didn't flinch. Why should we trust you? Aria asked coldly. The Empire betrayed me, Dren Kai replied. They used my designs to destroy my homeworld. I know their strategies, their weaknesses, and I know what you're trying to do with the teleportation technology. Aria's eyes narrowed. And how do you know that? Dren Kai tapped a small device on his wrist. Because I was part of the team tasked with creating the countermeasures. I can help you stop them, if you'll let me. A race against time. Back aboard the Starblade, Dren Kai provided critical information. He revealed that the Empire was already testing weapons capable of disabling teleportation drives. These weapons, he explained, were being developed in secret at a hidden research facility. If they succeed, your advantage will be gone. Dren Kai warned. You have to strike before they deploy them. Aria weighed the risks. The facility was deep in Imperial territory, heavily guarded. But if they didn't act, humanity's last hope could be extinguished. We'll go, Aria decided. But we'll need more than just a sneak attack. We'll need to hit them harder than ever before. The AI spoke up. Analysis suggests utilizing amplified teleportation. This could allow you to bypass defenses entirely. Mira shook her head. Amplified teleportation. That's suicide. The drive isn't stable enough. Arya placed a hand on Mira's shoulder. Then make it stable. We don't have a choice. The traitor revealed. As preparations began, Raj noticed something strange in the ship's logs, unauthorized communications sent during the battle at Theta Prime. He traced the source and found a hidden terminal in the lower decks. When he confronted the user, his heart sank. It was Lieutenant Kira, one of their trusted navigators. "You've been feeding the Empire our location," Raj accused. Kira's face was pale, her hands trembling. "I didn't have a choice. They have my family. If I didn't..." Raj cut her off. "Do you realize what you've done? How many people have died because of you?" Kira broke down, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. I just wanted to save them." Arya arrived, her expression cold. "Lock her up. We'll deal with this after the mission." A new resolve. With Kira detained and the survivors safe, the crew focused on their next mission. The amplified teleportation drive was risky, but it was their only chance to strike the Empire where it hurt most. As the Starblade powered up, Arya addressed her crew. "The Empire thinks they can crush us, that they can snuff out humanity like a dying star. But today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show them that humanity doesn't just survive. We fight. And we win." The crew cheered, their spirits renewed. The Starblade shimmered, disappearing into the void once more. The Empire strikes first. The Starblade emerged from hyperspace, its engines groaning under the strain of the amplified teleportation jump. The crew exhaled in relief as the ship stabilized. But their respite was short-lived. Ahead lay their target, the Imperial Research Facility, a colossal structure built into an asteroid surrounded by a dense minefield and a fleet of warships. "This is madness," Raj muttered, studying the holographic display. "They've fortified this place like it's their crown jewel." "That's because it is," Dren Kai said, stepping onto the bridge. The alien engineer pointed to the central core of the facility. "Right there, that's where they're developing the anti-teleportation weapons. If we destroy that, they'll lose years of progress." Arya Kane's eyes narrowed. "What are we up against?" Dren Kai tapped the display, highlighting the facility's defenses: autonomous drones, electromagnetic barriers, and a command ship designed to jam communications. "If you're caught, reinforcements will arrive in minutes." Arya turned to her crew. "Then we don't get caught. Mira, can the drive handle short-range jumps inside the facility?" Mira hesitated. "It'll hold, but only just. We're playing with fire, Captain." "Good," Arya said. "Let's make it burn." The first blow. The Starblade cloaked itself within the asteroid's shadow, slipping through the outer defenses. With the crew on high alert, the AI calculated the safest entry points for a teleportation breach. "Team Alpha will hit the weapons lab," Arya explained, briefing her team. "Team Beta sabotages the reactor. We need this place offline before they realize we're here." Jax grinned nervously. "And Team Gamma?" Arya smirked. "Team Gamma, that's me. Make sure the Empire regrets ever messing with humanity." The teams teleported in, splitting into their designated zones. The weapons lab was a hive of activity, Imperial scientists scrambling as Raj's team stormed in, disabling security systems and planting charges. Mira's team worked in the reactor core, sweating under the intense heat as they bypassed safeguards to overload the station's power supply. Arya's team moved with surgical precision, targeting key command centers to disrupt communication and sow confusion. The Empire's once impenetrable facility was in chaos within minutes. The Empire's counterattack. But the Empire was prepared. A deep metallic voice echoed through the station. "Intruders detected. Lockdown initiated." Massive blast doors slammed shut, separating Arya from half her team. The lights flickered as drones poured into the corridors, their weapons firing relentlessly. "Fall back," Arya shouted, ducking behind cover. "Regroup at the rendezvous point." Meanwhile, on the Starblade, Mira's console lit up with warnings. "Captain, We've got incoming. Multiple Imperial ships dropping out of hyperspace. Jax, piloting the ship, cursed under his breath. They're jamming us. I can't get a clean signal to teleport anyone back. Mira turned to the AI. Can you override their jamming? Negative, the AI replied. The jammer must be disabled manually. Raj's voice crackled over the comms. We'll handle it, Captain. Just get that reactor overloaded. The traitor's final play. In the chaos, Kira, the imprisoned navigator, found her moment. She had been plotting an escape since her betrayal was uncovered. As the star blade shook from incoming fire, she overpowered her guard and accessed the ship's comm system. This is Lieutenant Kira, she transmitted. I'm aboard the Starblade. If you want the ship, I can give it to you. Mira burst into the room just as Kira finished the message. What the hell are you doing? Kira turned, her face pale but determined. They have my family. I can't let them die. You think the Empire will spare them? Mira shot back. They'll use you and kill them anyway. For a moment, Kira hesitated, doubt flickering across her face. Before she could respond, the ship rocked violently, and the transmission was cut. Desperation in the void. Back in the facility, Arya and her team fought their way to the central command room, where they discovered the source of the jammer. A towering machine hummed with energy, guarded by Imperial soldiers and an elite combat droid. Focus on the jammer, Arya yelled, dodging a barrage of laser fire. We need to get our people out of here. Dren Kai, who had joined her team, worked furiously to disable the device. Cover me, he shouted as sparks flew from his tools. The combat droid advanced, its heavy steps shaking the floor. Arya faced it head-on, using every ounce of her training to outmaneuver the machine. With a final shot to its power core, the droid collapsed in a smoking heap. The jammer's down, Dren Kai announced. Escape and sacrifice. With the jammer disabled, Mira teleported the teams back to the Starblade just as the facility's reactor began to overload. The crew cheered as they watched the Imperial Research Station erupt in a brilliant explosion. But their victory was short-lived. The Imperial fleet, led by Admiral Tarek Voss, closed in. The Starblade's engines were damaged, and the teleport drive was still recharging. Arya faced the grim reality. We're not outrunning them. Dren Kai stepped forward, his yellow eyes gleaming with resolve. I can buy you time. Let me pilot one of the shuttles as a decoy. You wouldn't survive, Arya said. I know, Dren Kai replied, but I owe the Empire a debt, and I'll repay it with interest. Arya hesitated, then clasped his shoulder. Thank you. Dren Kai launched the shuttle, drawing the Imperial fleet away. The Starblade used the distraction to make a final desperate jump, disappearing into the void. The Empire regroups. On the Imperial flagship, Admiral Voss watched the explosion on his display. His expression was calm, but his eyes burned with cold fury. Prepare the countermeasures, he ordered. Humanity thinks they've won a battle. Soon, they'll learn what it means to lose a war. A glimmer of hope. Aboard the Starblade, the crew mourned Dren Kai's sacrifice, but his bravery had given them something they hadn't felt in years. Hope. We hit them hard today, Raj said, raising a glass. But we're not done. Arya nodded, her voice resolute. We've turned the tide, but the real fight is just beginning. The Empire thinks they've seen everything we can do, but they're wrong. The crew cheered, their spirits renewed. In the distance, the stars shimmered, a reminder of the battles yet to come. The revenge of humanity. The Starblade floated in the darkness of deep space, hidden within the shadow of a dying star. Inside, the crew gathered around the central console, reviewing the AI's latest tactical plan. It wasn't just another strike. They were about to go straight for the heart of the Empire. This is the Imperial Nexus, the AI said, projecting a hologram of a massive, heavily fortified station. It serves as the Empire's central command hub, coordinating fleets, communications, and military strategy. Raj let out a low whistle. That's suicide. Every major Imperial fleet is going to be guarding that thing. Exactly, the AI replied. But if you destroy the Nexus, you dismantle the Empire's ability to respond. Their fleets will be scattered, their supply lines fractured. Arya leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. How do we get close enough to hit it? The AI's tone didn't change. We don't. We use the teleportation drive to infiltrate the Nexus with a surgical strike team. Once inside, you'll plant a destabilization device in their core. The resulting explosion will destroy the station. Mira frowned. And the odds of survival? Unquantifiable, the AI admitted. This mission is highly unlikely to succeed. Arya stood tall, her voice cutting through the tension. Unlikely isn't impossible. We've made it this far. We're not stopping now. A final betrayal. As preparations began, Kira sat in her cell, her head bowed. Arya approached, her expression cold but firm. You're coming with us, Arya said. This is your chance to make things right. Kira looked up, her face a mix of guilt and determination. Why give me a chance after everything I've done? Because the stakes are bigger than your mistakes, Arya replied. You know Imperial systems better than anyone. We need you. Kira nodded, her resolve hardening. I won't let you down. The final jump. The Starblade made its last jump, emerging within striking distance of the Imperial Nexus. The station loomed before them, a massive sphere of reinforced metal bristling with weapons and surrounded by fleets of patrolling ships. Brace yourselves, Jax muttered, gripping the controls. This is going to get messy. Mira powered up the teleportation drive, sweat dripping down her face. The system groaned under the strain, but it held. The strike team, Arya, Raj, Jax, Kira, and Dren Kai's legacy in the form of a modified drone, teleported directly into the Nexus. The air was thick with tension as they materialized in a dark corridor, their weapons drawn. The heart of the beast. The team moved quickly through the station, guided by the AI's directions. Every step was met with resistance. Imperial soldiers, automated turrets, and traps designed to repel intruders.